I did not expect that one bit. Blake Griffin is a Detroit Piston. And I'm a huge Pistons fan if you guys don't know, so this is my initial reaction. I had no idea we traded for Blake until I saw some YouTube notifications that said Blake Griffin is traded to Pistons. And looking at the trade, I need a bucket so I can throw up. This is a horrible trade for the Pistons, okay? We traded Avery Bradley, who's an expiring contract. We were going to trade Avery Bradley anyway. I'm not upset we traded Avery Bradley. He was not coming back. He's a good player, but I did not expect him to come back. Boban, we traded Boban, and I love Boban so much. He's still, like, going to be one of my favorite players. I'm going to miss him on the Pistons. And Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris is 24. He's on a 2-year contract. He's not on a great contract, but he's not on an awful contract. But why did we have to trade Tobias Harris? That is the piece I'm upset we traded. And we traded our first-round pick, which is top 4 protected, but we're not landing in the top 4. So we lost our first-round pick, too. I'm upset that we traded Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris is a really good player who's young. He's 24. He's not a veteran. He's 24 years old. And the Clippers traded, of course, Blake Griffin. They also traded Willie Reed and Bryce Johnson. Willie Reed's a solid depth player. Probably better than Boban's like the greatest player ever, but like Willie Reed's certainly a good backup, and then Bryce Johnson's a project. Probably won't be anything. I mean, the Clippers are going to win the championship with Boban. But now let's get to the Blake part of it. I made a video in the summer. It was the 5 most overrated and 5 most underrated players in the NBA. My number 1 most overrated player was Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin is overrated. He's an injury-prone player who you cannot build a team around as your number 1 guy. Blake nor Andre Drummond are players you can build around as your number 1 guy. You can still build around him as like a number 2 or a number 3, but we still need a number 1. Blake Griffin is not a number 1 player. He is going to be the number 1 player because he's probably better than Drummond, but he's not a number 1 player on a championship contender. And his contract, he's locked up for 5 years, which is good because if he turns out to be a great player for us, then that's good. But I don't. 5 years, $175 million. Ooh, I just had a green 3 with Blake, but that's besides the point. Blake is being overpaid. Overpaid. So the Pistons, while they're trading some not great contracts, and Avery Bradley, who if they kept, they would have had to pay max money. Tobias Harris is like making 16 or 17 mil, and Boban, who's making around 7 mil for Blake. This gives us a little bit of cap space now, but not in the future. This trade, I don't think it helps us now because we lose a lot of depth, or really starters, in Bradley and Tobias Harris, especially Tobias Harris. But for one player who I don't think is that much better than Tobias Harris, to be honest, and Blake Griffin. He's better than Tobias Harris. I'm not going to say Tobias Harris is better than Blake, but he's not that much better than Tobias Harris. I don't think Blake's an all-star talent. I think Drummond's barely an all-star talent. He deserved to make it this year. He got snubbed. But Blake, he's too injury-prone. He's inconsistent. He can't win in the playoffs. And he's in the exact same situation as he was in LA. He has a talented big man who, DeAndre Jordan and Andre Drummond are extremely, extremely similar players. And then the rest of his team is not that good. The Clippers have Lou Williams. The Pistons have Reggie Jackson, who's coming back. I think we should have not been as aggressive. I think we should have traded Avery Bradley for a pick. Let Reggie come back. We're going to be better when Reggie comes back. I think Reggie Jackson is why we have been so bad lately, because we have sucked. We've lost, what, 8 in a row? I just think we overpaid way too much. I think this is a bad trade. I want to stay a fan of this team, and I'm going to stay a fan. But it's, wow, why do I keep hitting greens with Blake? But it is very hard to be a Pistons fan right now. I just don't like this trade for the Pistons. The Clippers did exactly what I told them to do in the offseason. get rid of Blake. I thought they should have just let him go in free agency, but this is getting value for Blake. Avery Bradley, who's going to go at the end of the season most likely. Tobias Harris, who is an extremely good young player. He's 24. Phenomenal wing player. Boban, who's the GOAT. And a first-round pick, which is top 4 protected, but the Pistons are not that bad. Unless Blake turns into, like, I'm not sure. But could we at least trade it like John Lore in this trade instead of Boban? Could it at least have been John Lore? Because I don't like John Lore. He's one of the few players on the Pistons I don't like. As John Lore gets a rebound, thanks John Lore. Like, I like Stanley. I like Anthony Tolliver. I really like Ish. I'm fine with Langston Galloway. But John Lore sucks. He's locked up for 3 years, which is longer than Boban, longer than Toby, and longer than Avery Bradley. Even if we had to give up a few more second-round picks, I would have rather traded him than Boban. Or maybe a first-round pick in like 2022 and him in a few seconds instead of Tobias Harris. If we didn't trade Tobias Harris, this trade wouldn't be as bad. I probably still wouldn't like it because Blake's on such a huge contract. But still, Tobias Harris is the piece that I'm really upset we traded. And I think the Pistons are going to regret it for a long time. I think Blake obviously has more upside than Tobias Harris. He has a lot of upside. But Tobias Harris, I think, is younger. He's less of a concern. He's less pricey in cost. And he's almost as good of a player. And he plays, unlike Blake, he plays 82 games a season. So, in summary, the Clippers are in a good situation. They're tanking. They're going to trade DeAndre Jordan for probably the Nets pick. That's a great trade for the Clippers. They're going to have 2 top 10 picks, maybe even a top 5 pick if the Nets trade players like DeMar Carroll away, who are good, who they don't really need. But to put it simply, we're screwed. I don't like this trade. I'm sorry. If you guys think this is a good trade, please tell me in the comments, but I don't. I just don't. I need to go hide in a toilet for the next 2 weeks.